Hi everybody, welcome back to another episode of Devil's Advocate, Trades Edition. Joining me today is Peter, is it pronounced Roisman?
Roisman is right.
Yay. I do try to take pride in enunciation, so Peter, I think, so is Jack your assistant or your second hand, or?
Yeah, Jack works with me, yep,
yeah.
Absolutely.
So Jack is the one that reached out to me and he listens to Devil's Advocate, so thank you, Jack, that was very kind. I'm always happy to have wonderful and loyal listeners. But you have something interesting because you are in the property world as well, and you're the founder of REV Leasing.
Yes, I'm one of the co-founders, absolutely.
Okay, so tell me a bit about REV Leasing.
Well, REV Leasing currently is in the assessment and training business for multifamily leasing.
Okay.
So most people use Grace Hill, and it's just sort of a check-the-box item. How do you train your people? We use Grace Hill, right? And it's off the shelf, basic training for leasing, but it's for everything else too, and it's not solely focused on leasing. And so I think what differentiates us is the customization of it, as well as the sole focus on leasing. We're kind of unique in that we think that the industry needs to pay a little closer attention to revenue generation and not just try to cost consolidate. And that cost consolidation in the last 3 years has been really the focus of every conference I attended, and not so much revenue generation or revenue performances. And so we're here to strengthen properties, one leasing person at a time, essentially.
That's fair. So when you say leasing, do you just talk about like homeowners that want to rent their properties, or is this more of like an Airbnb, or does it encompass all of it? Do you guys encompass condo?
Well, I guess at this point we're only really servicing the apartment industry. So if you have a small apartment or even a mid-sized apartment portfolio, we're this tool that management companies can use to basically train where there are voids, train where there are gaps, and we kind of make it fun too. We gamified our training, and it's if you've done Duolingo, you probably have some sense of how this works. But we're on our third generation of training right now, and this one is really interactive, really fun, and bite size. It can be consumed in bite sizes. You don't have to sit down like you're in a classroom. You can consume it, at 5 minutes at a time, or sit down for 15 minutes. And it's really kind of cool because, it's really impactful. If you think about it, on a multifamily property, so many things are in play. Probably the property management teams, and I know you have some property management background. Property management teams are concerned about 100 things, leasing being one of them. And oftentimes people don't really pay attention and focus in on the leasing, item until there's a problem. And so instead of being reactive, this is more of a proactive situation. You can either deal with it when you've got a problem and try to, train up and upskill your team, or you make that a really important focus of your management system, up front. So, you get a new person, you train them up. You have someone that may have, some gaps in their training, you fill those gaps. But if you get extra leases, it gives, obviously extra value to your property, but it stabilizes the property, it reduces risk on the property, all of the positive things that give you a better treatment, in the investor market, in the financial market, overall, just really treating your people in a better way, because people feel better when they're doing a good job and they're getting good results, and everybody's happier. So your team is much happier.
Well, we like happy people, especially in the property world.
Oh gosh, yeah. It's you take a beating at times, and so sometimes it's nice to get some positive feedback on the job you're doing. And if you think about it, think about the leasing agent. When you go rent an apartment, that's the first person you meet. Mm-hmm. That's the brand ambassador in a way, right? Whatever your impression is of that person is going to be the impression of the property. And so it's really important that this person gets a leadership type role, and that's not the case today. That person today is the least paid, most turnover in the position, least trained, oftentimes untrained, and it's a dangerous situation for the marketplace. If you're trying to achieve high performance, you really do need a strong leasing team. It does so much good, and it's not super expensive to do. And you know what? People definitely perform better when they feel like they're an important part of the mission, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So downplaying their importance never goes over really well. It doesn't really serve any purpose.
So I can tell you that on the day when I used to rent, once upon a time, I have a lot of leasing managers that I can tell you that I, for lack of a better term, friggin' hated. I thought they were rude and everything was very business. And here's the thing, like, especially nowadays, so I think it's great what you're doing, that there's a tool out there to help train people, because what a lot of people don't realize is that, and well, most should, but when you really cut through all the fat, money is a very emotional thing for people. And so when they're putting the money into something that's supposed to be their safe haven, and where it's supposed to be where they get their downtime, their peace, the last thing they want to do is have somebody that's representing the owner that's a complete a-hole.
Exactly. No, I mean, it sets the tone for the
Yes.
property, the experience. Ultimately you're helping someone find their home, right?
Yeah.
It's really, and all of the things that go into that. Look, understanding the person you're sitting across from is the first mission, right? Mission is discover what they want, right?
Yep.
Figure out who they are, what they want, and from there, the job of leasing that apartment gets easier, because if you've done a really good job understanding who you're sitting across from, now you can benefit sell them. Now you can take the things on your property or around your property that are really good and fit their desires and needs, and so you just naturally move into those discussions. Well, if you did a bad job on the front end of figuring out who you're talking to, the discovery process, you're going to have a really hard time telling them what's important to them because you haven't listened to them. So, being kind of the basics, of leasing training is being really good at fundamentals. And if you get good at fundamentals, it becomes natural. It's like having a conversation, like we're doing. We're having a conversation.
Yeah.
This is just natural. We're just doing something that a leasing person should have with a prospect and someone looking for a home.
I think the other part of that's the downfall that gets where there's high burnout and discrepancies, where there's, I guess I'll say, a communication miss, is that most people don't really know what they want. They know 3 things that they want when they're looking for somewhere to live. Whereas, like, you find, like, so my realtor, poor guy, I was very specific when I went to buy a house. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars I'm putting into a home to buy, let alone rent, right? So, I mean, rent is another thing. And rent is always kind of like people, there's so many things, like, is it new? Who built it? How was it built? Well, like, is there a patio? Is there a park? What's it close to? How big is the garage? Is it one garage? Is there underground parking? Is there surface parking? Is it titled parking? There's so many questions, right? So I think that what happens is what gets lost is that, number one, the agents aren't asking all the right questions, and they're so busy, they're so quick to just show the place and try and get it rented, then actually, like you said, listen to what they're saying. I don't want to be higher than the 5th floor. I don't want to have to take an elevator. I don't, like, there's lots of things that you need to pay attention to when people are renting, especially in apartments. So for me, I'm just like I was very specific. I was like, I want open concept, I want an ensuite, I want a walk-in closet, I want larger bedrooms for my children, and I need a garage. I need a garage that fits my truck. If my garage doesn't fit the truck, so before I'd even walk into the house, I would literally measure the garage, height and width. I would measure it. And they were like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not even walking into this house until I know my truck fits, because there's 0 point in buying a home that your vehicle doesn't fit in.
Totally agree. And it's true with a car too. I actually did the same thing with a car. I play a lot of golf, so if a car, I bought one car, I had to make sure that golf clubs fit in the trunk. If they didn't fit, I wasn't going to buy the car. I can't have the clubs be in the seat next to me.
right? I mean, you could, but I mean, who wants that? Then you kind of look a little
And I
bit, you
can't
know.
take someone to play golf with. It's like, it kind of limiting.
You look a little cheesy at that point, right, Peter?
You do.
Driving
Like, you
around with
can't
your
even
golf cart, with your
put your golf clubs.
golf clubs as a passenger with the seatbelt on. I mean, funny.
Same principle, you know.
It
If
is
you have-
though, but
it's sort
it's
of a
the
game
little
breaker, right? You
things.
gotta listen to people. What's the game breaker? What is the thing you absolutely must have? What are those must-haves?
Yes. But that's the thing. And so like what I want to try to drive home to people is not everybody knows what they want. So that's where those questions from the representatives, from the leasing agents they need to have a spreadsheet of what they're prepared, like some of those questions that maybe people haven't even thought about.
Exactly.
Have you thought about how close you want to be to downtown, the core, if you want to be out, if you want to be outward?
Do you want to be near a park? Do you want to be near stores and restaurants? You know, what are your priorities? You're just
How
doing
many
all
bedrooms
kinds
do you need? Can it be lived in? What do you need for cleaning it? I have friends of mine that rent, and a couple of them are like, I won't move into a house unless there's a fresh coat of paint and new flooring. And I'm like new carpet, because I'm not ripping out tile. And they're like, no, tile's fine. They're like, but we're not moving into a house that looks like it has had multiple people in it. And I'm like, that's fair.
Yeah, you don't want wear and tear on your property.
Yeah, that's fair. And there's a lot of places that are like that. Like you move in and you're like, oh, well. And it's not like clearly this was lived in, like buying a home. It's like clearly there was a lot going on in here.
Yeah, exactly right.
You know, so
it's interesting. We started out as a replacement leasing company. We've always been expert in leasing, but we started out not just providing courses. We had many of our clients from a prior iteration of our business that asked us to train their people. And we always turned them down because we were in the leasing business. We went in and we actually took over the job and did the leasing for our clients. Well, the second that we decided to not do that part of the business anymore and back off and actually train people, that's how we got into this generation of our business, which is we realized how big can we be if we were trying to put people all over the country? It would be almost impossible.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
now tell me something, Peter. Where are you? Are you in the States or in Canada?
We're in the States. We're based in Houston and with an office in Connecticut.
So where are you right now? Are you in Houston or Connecticut?
Neither one of those two. I'm in Puerto Rico at the moment.
Peter's like, I'm on break. I'm on break, but not really.
I live here 7 months a year.
Nice. So how's Puerto Rico? Puerto Rico.
It's great. If you haven't been, you should come and check it out.
I've never been to Puerto Rico. I've been to different places inside of Mexico, and my kids really like Mexico. I'd like to go a little bit more to the Caribbean. I'm Caribbean, but I don't think I'd ever go to where my dad was from because it's landlocked and it's kind of scary. Just saying.
Yeah.
I'd rather be surrounded by a bunch of water.
And where are you?
That sounds a little crazy. What's that?
Are you in Canada?
I am in Canada. Yep,
What part?
Maple Leaf. I always wear it.
I like it. What part are you in?
I'm in Alberta.
Oh, nice.
It's like everyone makes the joke that Alberta is like the Canadian Texas.
Well, it kind of is. It's a lot of cattle, a lot of farming, right?
But I mean, we're right above Montana, and I would say we were closer to Montana. I think it's some of the more the political than it is. Like I find that there's certain areas in Alberta that are they're a lot more like Montana.
Right.
And then there's some places that are like Texas. And I'm like, yeah. But it's true. Lots of cattle. We're big on our beef, cowboys, rodeos. You do it all. If you grew up in Alberta, you know you've done it all. You've eaten all the meat you possibly can. And then every time I meet a vegan in Alberta, I'm like, you're in the wrong province. Go to BC.
The vegan community has to be pretty small.
You would think it is. It kind of is. Like, so I have an acupuncturist, and I love my acupuncturist to death. She's vegan. And I always kind of tease her a little bit. I'm like, how do you nourish yourself? She just giggles. She's a good sport. I adore her.
So yeah, I was talking to a friend of mine today here in Puerto Rico who's from Montana. So I'm sure he can relate to your part of the woods, or lack of woods. You probably have plains, not woods.
No, we have tons of woods. We're very, very wooded. We have tons of mountains. We have tons of forests. We do have areas like, so as we start to get towards Montana, then it is more like plains. Absolutely. So if I'm driving towards Montana and I'm coming in through the Alberta side, not the BC side, there's a lot of like more flat lands.
Well,
Still twists and turns. It's not like Saskatchewan where you drive straight through. We always make fun of people from Saskatchewan. We're always like in Alberta, because Alberta has like every driver from every province in it, and so we're such a-holes. Like we'll sit there and we'll see like a green plate, which is a Saskatchewan plate, and we'll be like, oh, I'm gonna put his brakes on. There's a little bit of curve in the road. Might not make it.
Well, let's see. I've been to British Columbia. I've been to Ontario. I've been to Quebec. I guess that's probably it. I don't think I've been in the mountain region yet. So
well, there's mountains in BC, so it depends. Were you in Vancouver?
Yeah, I went to Victoria. Was the only place. Yeah.
You're gonna see in Victoria you won't see the same thing as you would if you were like going in and around the East Kootenay and West Kootenay area in BC and then in Alberta. Saskatchewan is flat. Manitoba I've driven through. It's a blur. Ontario has tons of different types of terrain depending on where you are in Ontario. There's tons of woods.
Yeah.
And same with Quebec, because I was born in Quebec and most of my family's in Quebec. So we go out, that's where I learned how to hunt and fish and all that stuff. So
only a 6-hour drive from Montreal. So I've driven up there with my wife. So
there you go.
Yep.
How fun is that? So what about where in the States do you hang out the most? Like, are you more like in Houston?
I'm in Houston for business and in Connecticut in the summertime. So kind of winters in Puerto Rico, summers in Connecticut, and business in Houston.
So when do you and the wife head back towards Connecticut, Houston area?
We go to Connecticut in May, June, July, August, September. So the warmer months.
You guys are just starting out right now. You're like, we just got here. We're here for a few months.
Yeah, we're looking forward to a nice warm winter in Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico. I love that. I love that you guys are out there. Okay, so how is everything going on on your neck of the woods in the States? How is that affecting your business, or is it?
I think financial markets are a bit confused and unsteady at the moment, at least in the States. There's been one small interest rate cut, a quarter point, and that was about a month and a half or 2 months ago, and since then it's been steady. But I think there's some uncertainty in the financial markets right now, which is probably reflected by some rent decreases in certain areas of the country. Austin is probably, Austin, Texas is a really overbuilt market, so it's probably down 20% in rents, and some of the other markets are overbuilt as well. So I think that instability probably, in some ways supports what we're doing, because we're telling people to focus in on the revenues. Mm-hmm. When you've got tough financial times, you want to make sure you close everyone that wants to live at your place, and even some people that are deciding whether they want to live at your place. Mm-hmm. And so it's really important that kind of button things down when things are not. It's not like runaway train right now. It's sort of a flat line, flat to down, and I see a lot of interest in training people up right now because people are struggling a little. Somewhere around 15% of properties in the major cities are at a breaking point, and so it's worth making sure you're performing as well as you can. You can always try to increase traffic, but taking care of the traffic that actually finds its way to your door or finds its way to making a phone call to you, if you do that properly, you'll be in good shape. You'd be actually surprised and probably appalled by the fact that the fundamentals are not getting done. We have an assessment tool, and we do assess the leasing performance of properties, and we've done it, almost 400 times now. It's a scoring system on a 700 score. I don't know if you guys have the same credit system we do, which is an 850 score is the highest, but we have a 700 leasing score, which is the highest, and the market average of all of the properties we've done, and it's been a cross section of properties, so from Class C to Class A. Mm-hmm. what we're finding is the average score is around 323, which
Ouch.
is right in the middle. And so it's very, very marginal is the performance. And so to get to good, which would be 400 and above, would take some training. To get to 500 would be very good, and over 600 we've yet to see yet. Our highest score ever recorded is 486, and so borderline very good. And we just think there's a lot of room for improvement and by the way, the part of the problem, you may not have thought of this unless you've lived in the multifamily world a lot, but the leasing position in multifamily it turns over 1.5, 2 times a year. So it's very unstable. And and because of that, it's not really a career. It's more of an entry point into the management company. And so what happens if somebody shows real skill at leasing? Well, Lisa, you know what happens? They get promoted to not leasing. They get promoted and stuck behind a desk, and they're not on the front line anymore talking to people and helping them find their homes. They're actually staring, looking at a screen all day.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a fault in the system right now, and we're strongly recommending to our clients that they create a pathway, an upward pathway of a leasing career, so that if you show promise and skills, that you don't get moved out of those skills, and you use them, and you get better and better at it, and you become an ambassador for the property and for the company. And you're a stabilizing force, and that's not happening today, not in many places. So we're strongly recommending to make leasing, the leasing agent being the entry level, and then being leasing director, leasing manager, leasing regional, leasing, all of these things can all be done, and you can have a silo of leasing people, which are the stable people on the front end of your business, and it's just not the case today.
I agree with you. I think that there should be different tiers within that position, because that's the other thing that becomes incredibly frustrating to the people that are leasing, is to have to move through new faces. We still have a large demographic of people that like the consistency.
Yes, it's called stability. Basically, let's say, at least from me, and I stayed for 2 or 3 years, and you were there for 2 or 3 years. If you had a problem, you have a friend that you can come to and say, listen, Peter, I've got a problem with my hot water, or I've got a problem with my carpet, or something, and you say, well, let me get you to the right person. I would make sure you got in front of the right person. I tell them what the problem was, and I try to quarterback it for you. But if I'm turning over every 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, and you come back into that office and you don't see a familiar face, that's a destabilizing thing for a property. That's not helpful. You're not more likely to renew your lease if you don't see your friend there as if you do. If you do, you're likely to stay. If you don't, you're likely not to stay.
That, and if the person that's replaced my friend, so it's already a blow if the person isn't there that I look at as someone who's, my friend, or someone that I feel that,
I'm your proponent.
Yeah. So, I built my rapport with you. You built your rapport with me, so we understand each other. You kind of know, how I am. So it's like, if there's a problem with the toilet, she's going to call. If there's a problem with this, she's going to call. Right? So, whereas there's some people who don't call at all, and then all of a sudden you got like 4 units that are like damaged, right? But you have some people that are really on top of what's going on around them, and they make the consistent calls. But if that person doesn't know that, and I'm calling and talking to somebody and they're like, yeah, we know, and they're brushing me off, especially with someone like me who's, I don't right away come out and say, I'm a construction consultant, I have an IICRC designated water certification, I don't say all those things. I'm designated project management for construction and an estimator, and I've been in construction for 20 years. Like, I'm not giving them my resume. I live there. So as far as I'm concerned, I think that they have a file that says, this is who she is, this is what she knows. She's an asset if you have a question in the building, but be prepared that she will give you like the full rundown of everything. Like, I'm not trying to make everything, like, I'm someone who doesn't, I won't cut corners, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Out loud, nobody says I'm going to cut a corner, but I'm really, my job is designed to make sure that nobody cuts corners that's inside of a building. I want to make sure that if you're going to put it back or you're going to put it together to begin with, it's done right the first time. right?
Exactly.
So that if it has to go and be done again because of a loss, then we know what's required and that it was done the first time and this isn't the reason for it, right? So the worst thing you can find out is after a loss and then you pull things apart and realize it was never constructed properly to begin with. That's incredibly frustrating for everybody involved. So and then, and that's the other thing is that I always try and encourage people that are renting or leasing or owning, whatever it is, like you have someone else that you need to go to for that you need to make sure that if you're not getting the service you feel you deserve or require, that you're escalating it to the next person in line or
Exactly.
2 people.
It's helpful to have someone who's in your corner, and the person that put you in your home should be the person that does that for you and at least walks you to the right place to get something done. Isn't going to probably do the job, but is going to get you to the right person. And if that person's already moved on because they weren't properly trained, they weren't treated properly, they didn't have any career path, blah blah blah, whatever the reason, it's not going to help you. It's not going to help retention rates for the management team and the owners. It's not great for the actual people who are living there. It's not great for the person that's doing the leasing.
Yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. So what's one of your biggest challenges inside of the leasing world itself, and what are one of the most rewarding components of it?
Yeah, I think let's start with the rewarding side. I think the rewarding side is the people side of this, right? If you can help people do better in their careers, feel better about themselves, be part of a team, take on some measure of leadership. I've always said, everyone is a leader on the task they're given, right? They're the leader in this task. And so as you're part of a team, everybody's a leader, but everybody's a teammate. So there's a way to, take some leadership and feel good about yourself. That's rewarding. When you see people get better and get better at their careers and see a property improve and our clients are happy, that's really rewarding. That's what we're in business for. That's why we're here. And so the challenge is to kind of change the thinking in the industry. I think instead of a check the box, we train them, like they took the course, okay? Maybe there's a better way to train them. Maybe you can actually assess them, figure out where there's some gaps, focus on those gaps and train them up, and then have them be way better at their jobs and be happier in doing it. So, it's the challenge is always the message. The challenge is always getting the coverage, getting the exposure you need. I think we know what we're doing. I think we just, every business wants to grow. Every business wants to have more people know what they're doing. The good thing about our business is it's scalable. We could have 10 clients or we could have 10,000 clients, and it won't affect our service to our client at all. Mm-hmm. Because it's basically, you get the courses, we can do assessments really easily, and we're using AI as if no other company is doing it. It's nothing new. AI is here to stay and here to grow, and it's great and it's scary, and it's all of the things in between. But I can tell you right now, Lisa, if someone is not using AI or at least learning about AI right now, the train is chugging away from the station, and there's a chance that they won't be able to get on it later. It's coming on faster. You remember how fast the internet came on, right?
Oh,
in 1999, nobody knew what the internet was. By 2000, 2001, if you didn't know the internet, you were already starting to miss the train. Well, we're at that point here. AI will go faster than the internet because it teaches itself. And so, the internet required humans to improve it. AI will improve itself. And so it'll just keep going and going and going. And so, to the degree that we can utilize it, we're utilizing it in our business from an analysis standpoint, from a kind of a research standpoint. It's really, really helpful. And so it's AI will be part of leasing too. I mean, it'll absolutely become incorporated into the leasing business, besides the training side, beyond that. And so it's kind of cool to be alive right now to see what's happening. I'm hopeful, outside of this discussion we're having, I'm hopefully realistically hopeful that medical advances will happen at speed of light instead of, human speed. Because if you can feed it into AI, there's a chance you can maybe cure some diseases that we weren't going to see cured in our lifetimes, which would be really cool.
So I'm on the AI train, and I have
Good.
been for quite some time. And I will tell you that most of the information that people receive, if you don't have a corrupted AI in the sense of that somebody has kind of written and programmed where it only tells you certain things, like it only goes to a certain point, right? Because there is, you can write program into it.
Sure.
But what happens is some of these AIs are getting so smart that they're breaking out of the code. And it's almost like the Matrix all over again, right?
It's scary.
Very Matrix, right?
Here. I'm a little afraid. I got to tell you.
Yeah. But what's really cool is that so when I'm using the AI aspects, and I'll tell you right now. So in my business, I'm a one of one, right? I don't need assistance. I have AI.
Oh, AI is your best assistant ever.
Right. So, and the nice thing about AI that I really like is that it does, like, first of all, people are finding out that all the things that could heal them already exist. And it's a matter of them actually believing it and doing it. Because right now, what AI is doing is it's opening an element of truth that's been hidden from a lot of us, right? Because you've got companies, well, you know the old saying, money talks and bullshit walks, right? So people wanted to continue to, I always tell people when people ask me, like, Lisa, why do you have so many certifications, designations? And I say, because knowledge is power. And that's what I truly believe. I want my children to be smart. I want them to learn about anything and everything. And so that's why, like, even myself, I went through a critical illness and I just dove into so many, like, aspects of healing and different types of healing. Now, did I lay down with crystals on my chest? No, I did not. But there was one I did not do. I did just about everything else. Changed my diet, looked at different types of mushrooms, looked at different types of, intravenous vitamins, looked at all the different things. Still went through Western medicine, still went through surgery, not scared to go through surgery, still went through the radiation. I'll never do that again. But regardless, I went and I did the research, and that's the big key takeaway for everybody is that AI is giving you the answer, but it's up to you to go and do the research so that you can wrap your brain around what they're saying is actually legitimate. Yeah. Because that's what a lot of people need, right? You can tell someone till you're blue in the face, like you're having a boy, and they're like, I'm not going to believe it till I see it. Right?
Right. Well, you're so right. And which AIs do you use? Do you use a lot of them, or
I use there's a few. So I've used Abacus, which I'm not a super fan of. My producer got me on that one, and I wasn't a super fan of that. I predominantly live in ChatGPT is my favorite. I also have my Marquee that has an AI component to it, and I also utilize like Copilot.
Yep.
Yeah, so I do have Copilot as well, and Gemini.
So I'm using two that you're not. Claude.
Okay. Heard of it.
And Perplexity.
Okay.
And I like both of them. And ChatGPT. I think everybody uses ChatGPT to some degree.
Well, ChatGPT is like the Google of the AI.
It arrived before the rest of these guys did. So.
Well, that's it, right? Everybody still Googles everything. I mean, some people will have different search engines, like they'll have Firefox and all that shit, but at the end of the day, everybody kind of like defaults to Google.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. So people have Google phones. People have, the more ubiquitous a company can become, the more they're here to stay. Like Apple. Apple's here to stay. Microsoft's here to stay. Google's here to stay. At the end of the day, they start doing everything. Amazon's here to stay. By the way, Amazon, great story. Started out as a bookseller. Isn't that crazy? That's what they sold, books.
Really?
That's the start of Amazon. Go back to the history of Amazon. They started by selling books online. That's literally how the company started.
Well, it always starts off, it's like, I find, because I tell people, I say, as an entrepreneur, it's short sprints, okay? The journey itself of being an entrepreneur, because you're constantly evolving, is a marathon. You're constantly pivoting and researching legislation and researching what's new and the trends and this and that and what's going to help your company work better, what's going to save you money, what's going to make you money. There's all these things, but as an entrepreneur, it's short sprints.
Totally
You're
agree.
busy, then you're not. You're busy, then you're not. But in those downtimes, there's two things you should be doing. Number one, you should make sure that you're still up and up on everything that's going on, because shit changes so fast. And secondly, you need to be taking some recovery time for yourself, because when you're sprinting, it's hard and it's fast, and nobody takes no for an answer, and it's just let's go. So that's something I always try and tell people, especially like young entrepreneurs that are like, oh, and I tell them, being an entrepreneur is not for the faint of heart. There's two types of entrepreneurs. There's ones like me who are crazy and have $500 in your account and jump and decide I'm going to run a business, and you do well. And but that's also a lot of hard work and time away from home and your kids and blah blah blah. And then there's some that will work while they're building their company, which is the smart way to do it, because then you don't really
get there fast. You get
What's
there
that?
You get there slower that way.
You do, but then you build it differently. But then I also find, like, even myself with my business, I've like rebranded. Like, so my business has been around for 6 years, and I've rebranded twice. I've redone my website 4 times, and I've also done. Let me think about this. And I've also pivoted and changed who I serviced 3 times.
We've rebranded once. We've been around 6 years. We've rebranded once. We've changed our line of business. We're on our 3rd, so we've changed it twice. We are entrepreneurs. We think just like you think.
Yeah.
And I've been an entrepreneur since I was 23 years old. Started my first business.
Yeah. So you get it, and that's what it is though. It's you're constantly moving. Like I tell people, I'm like, it's like a game of tag, except for you're always it.
You're it.
You're always it, right? And then I've heard other entrepreneurs say things like, your succession depends upon how hungry you are. Are you hungry to eat steak and like what you want to eat, right? Like, are you hungry just in general, or are you hungry to eat steak? Are you hungry to eat, caviar? Are you hungry to eat, Wagyu beef? Or are you hungry to eat lion? What are you hungry enough to eat? Now, lion's a horrible thing, but it's making a point. It's something that's attainable, but it's going to be something that obviously is going to have a lot more headaches and consequences in the end. For me, it's always more money, more problems. I've had so many people come up to me and go, "Oh, Lisa, you're the only one in your industry. You basically monopolize it. Like you could be a million plus, like trillionaire." And I'm like, I don't want to be. And they're like, why? And I'm like, there's just some people that don't want to be that. Like, I started my company, in the midst of a separation, 2 young kids. I don't want to miss out on everything.
No, you're balanced. You're doing a very practical thing, which is you've got your children and you've got your business, which is another child. And
That's
so
right.
you basically are juggling children.
It's not even wrong, but that's where I tell everybody it's personal. There's no right or wrong answer. If you want to be the trillionaire, go be that. Just understand when they say it's lonely at the top, that's not cute words. That's true.
No, there's
you don't
cost
know who you
to get to the top. There's an absolute cost to get there.
100%. You don't know who you can trust.
You're trading one thing for the other.
Yes, you don't have any real quality of life. Sure, when you get to the millions of dollars and you've got all these people in all the right places and you've done kind of what you need to do, then you're walking into a perspective where, holy shit, I'm 50 years old or 60 years old. I've gone through 2 marriages. I've got 2 kids or 4 kids. And I don't really have a relationship or a good one with anybody. And every time the family comes around, they got their hand out. That's a shitty place to be as a human. Like they don't value who you are. They value what you bring.
Yeah.
Well, it's a horrible place.
Yes, that is true. I'm not a particularly materialistic person, although I'm pretty hard on myself, so I drive myself to be successful at things, but I don't. It's not the gold and silver you get at the end of the rainbow that I really care about. It's winning. It's coming up with something new and different that hasn't been done before, and that's why I'm in business. I could have retired 8 years ago. I had an opportunity. I took like you talked about recharging. I recharged for 6 months.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? This isn't the end of the line for me. I'm not done. I want to go back to work, and I want to figure out something else. So what's new for me? And so I went back at it, and that's how I ended up in this business. So it's what drives people. Sometimes it's hunger, right? It's a hunger to eat or a hunger to achieve things. But I think some people are really bad at being stagnant. I'm really bad at doing nothing. I'm awful at it. And so I have to be doing something. Sounds like you have to be doing something too. And so I think we've just defined what an entrepreneur is.
It's not wrong. Like, you always have to be moving. Now, getting my critical ailment was the catalyst in teaching me to slow down, because I was a workaholic and I was missing out on my kids. And I was in the headspace of, I will be the first millionaire in my family. Here we go. And then when that happened, it was kind of in my brain, it was the universe kind of saying, like, shut up and sit down for a minute. Like, you're not, you might make it there. If you pay attention, like, I read a lot of, money psychology books, and it's really fascinating. And that's something that I would encourage all entrepreneurs to do, is before you take those jumps, those leaps and bounds, there's already entrepreneurs all around you that have been doing this for decades, that have that information and have put it into a book. Not a how to be one, but what to, you need, where your psyche kind of needs to be when it comes to money. Your relationship with money will determine how successful you are and where you're successful, based on, how you spend it, how you attain it, what you do with it. Are you frivolous? My mom she freaks out with me, because I'm one of those people. I don't believe in savings. I believe in lots of investments, love investments. I have all these different investments, but when it comes to savings, no. I'm like, what do you mean? I could die tomorrow. We're going to Cabo. Like, what?
I think an investment, in a way, if it's the right kind of investment, it's a means of advancing your financial picture.
Yeah.
Saving is kind of limited. If you're just talking about keeping money in a bank, that's probably the worst place you can keep money today. Honestly, I've got a chunk of money, and it's not a lot, but a chunk sitting there, and I think I'm getting 2%. But I have to keep it in because it's a part of this real estate deal that I'm doing, and they required cash in their bank. So I had to stick money in their banks so they would actually give me a loan. How about that for a world? I've got to give them my money so they will lend it back to me. It's beautiful.
It's stupid.
It's so
dumb. I know. It's like, and then, when you talk about things, it's like, banks don't actually really have money. It's like they borrow from everybody and just move money portfolios around based off of investments and whatnot, right? So, and then
cash on hand. The FDIC, at least in the States, the FDIC says they have to have a certain amount of cash reserves. Once they get below that, then they're in trouble. But they can lend out 10 times what they have in cash reserves.
Yes. But that's where everything gets into trouble. I was having this conversation with my kids, and I told them, I said, in life, you only need one credit card. You don't need 5. You need 1. And you need to be consistently, if the money isn't in the whole purpose of a credit card, and I said, I'm telling you this because I went through it the hard way. The whole purpose of a credit card is you have that money in your account, or it's an emergency. So if you can't pay it off your debit card, don't pay it off your credit card.
Oh, you have to pay. I was taught at the very beginning by my dad, who took me to get my first credit card, pay off your balance every month.
Yeah.
Don't run a balance. You'll never catch up. And so I've never run a balance on my credit card. I don't buy things I can't afford to pay for at the end of the month. I just won't do it. And so, I don't even have a car loan. I've never had a car loan. If I couldn't afford a car, I didn't buy it.
Smart. So it's the best way to be. Now, the rest of us all probably have a little bit of a balance on our credit cards, and we probably all still have a little bit of a car loan.
Well, listen, if it's the only way you're going to be able to drive a car, then I get it. But, I was able to save, and I didn't buy the fanciest car. I just bought a car I could afford.
Yeah.
End of the day.
And, I think that's where a lot of us parents are terrified for our children, is that it is so impossible to save based off of the economy now. For what, I could have my kids stay at home with me when they're in their 20s, because they're young, but I could have them stay home with me from 18 to 25 and do nothing but save and give themselves a couple of $100 a month to just piss off and do whatever, and pay for their car insurance and pay for their gas. Pay for all of it.
By the way, I highly recommend that if they're amenable to it. But that's a great way to save money. If they can put a chunk of money away, because look, my kids are older, and my son-in-law, they're both married. One son-in-law came out of school with hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt, and he had to work really hard to pay it off, and that was just to get to even. And so, if they can somehow come out of the schooling and be highly educated, but come out of school without a big debt, they're way ahead of most people. Mm-hmm. It's a great thing. So
I agree, but based on the economy now, even if they saved and put that money as a down payment onto a house, would they be able to afford the mortgage just based on what they're making? Do you see what I'm saying? It's hard.
Have pretty substantial jobs, so their education really is important. So, I mean, it sort of builds on itself. If they get the right education, get in the right career path, whatever, it could be in the medical world. The medical field tends to be, high paying all the way through. So if they are,
it can be lucrative. It can be.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I got one daughter in healthcare and one daughter in legal. So, and I think my healthcare daughter makes more than my legal daughter. But
again,
healthcare,
it depends, right?
It does. Healthcare pays really well, and it's going nowhere. And you know what? We all need healthcare, and we always will. So
yeah, we don't need lawyers. Just kidding.
No, I mean I'm a recovered lawyer, so I can relate to that.
I used to work for lawyers, and some of them have the best jokes about themselves, like their industry cracks me right up, And I love that most of them have a pretty good sense of humor.
A good lawyer for you. You want it? You probably heard it.
With
lawyer convention on a cruise line, right?
Okay.
Guy falls overboard into a school of sharks. The shark is going right at him. Looks like he's going to devour him. Pops the guy up on his nose, takes him over to the boat, and he walks up the ladder. Someone looking at it says, "What the heck did I just say?" Professional courtesy.
I've heard that one. I knew where it was going. Or my favorite is, what's the difference between a dead dog in the road and a dead lawyer?
You'd stop for the dog?
Tread marks.
I can only say one thing. I've got a lot of lawyers in my family, and it makes for interesting conversations. And sometimes we don't want to talk. Sometimes, but I think it's a good education. A lot of the world is legally organized, and it's not a bad idea to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't think the practice of law was ever really going to be for me. So.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, I was originally going to become a lawyer when I was much younger, and then I went into school for policing, and then I went in for more law aspects, and then I ended up doing my crim, and I really enjoy criminology and victimology and all of those, and like policing, mechanicals, all of those things. I really enjoyed all of it, and I did really well in my law courses. I mean, I've got contractual law, criminal law. I've got lots of different little legal courses and certifications that I got just inside of those laws, because not all of them I like. Now my day job is contractual law, in the sense that I'm constantly reading contracts to ensure that they are.
Society, by living in society, we're agreeing to a social contract. Everything is a contract.
Exactly. So that's something that I have gotten really proficient in. I would never be so bold to say, I'm a lawyer and I know better. I would say I understand the legalese. I can get through the context of this contract. These are the areas that you need to pay attention to. Please have your lawyer explain them to you, in elaborate on them, or maybe tighten this up or button this up. But, because there are some people that are like, oh, I could do a lawyer's job. It's like, you don't have the certification to start throwing that around.
It's funny, we're talking about this, and we had AI earlier. We were talking about AI. AI can do a fairly decent job of document review. And so you can probably cut your lawyer bills by 90% if you're having someone review a contract. So before sending a contract to a lawyer, have AI look at it, then say, I still have 2 questions. I didn't have 20 questions, now I have 2. Take a look at this, and you could save a lot of money using AI.
It's not even wrong, because it scans it so fast, but you have to tell AI is a learning tool. So if you're just like, please read this and point out any discrepancies, it's going to be like, there could be 100 discrepancies.
Exactly. You got to tell it what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yep. Absolutely. I agree with you. Well, like I said, I don't give lawyers, I give lawyers a hard time, but I wanted to be one. I think my son would be an excellent lawyer. He's as chatty as his mother, and and he's mouthy and feisty and not scared to stand up for people. And I think that being a lawyer, there has to be the element of being an advocate, right?
You have to be an advocate. You have to be able to be a proponent for something.
Yeah. Now, they don't all stay that way, but they start out genuinely having that, desire to be an advocate and help people and make the world a better place. Now, I knew where I would end up in law. So to your point, when you talked about your two daughters, I would have ended up as a prosecutor. They make shit. They don't make anything.
Yeah.
Like you want the big money, you go corporate, you go criminal defense.
Yep.
That's where you make the big money.
My daughter is a child advocacy lawyer, so she represents
non-for-profit, probably.
Correct. It's a non-profit, and she's fighting for children's rights.
She's a good woman.
Yeah.
Good woman, Peter.
Yeah, and my other daughter is a nurse practitioner, and she's, also she's been in the hospice wing of hospitals, and she does good work as well. And
those are both hard jobs. Those are both mentally hard jobs. So I got to say, you've got some pretty amazing girls, because those are mentally hard jobs. And nurse practitioners in the States are not the same as they are out here in Canada. And so I remember I met a girlfriend of mine who was from the States, and she was a nurse practitioner, and the stuff they get to do is very bordering doctors. They can manage a medical practice, actually, in the States.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, you can't do that out here as a nurse. Doctors have their panties in a twist.
Yeah. Well, they do in some states. I think Massachusetts has a very strict regulatory body looking over the nurse practitioners. But many states, give a lot of power to nurse practitioners, like they do to physician assistants. They can do a lot of work. They do a ton of work.
That's amazing. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up because we're coming up to the top of the hour. Thank you, Peter, for coming and hanging out with me and having a chat with me and talking about just different things, because that's always fun. I like talking about that. And congratulations on the direction that REV Leasing is moving. What are some of the different websites that people can reach out and find out more about REV?
Yeah, so just go to rev-leasing.com, and you can book a demo and see what our courses look like and learn more about us.
And you guys are across the states?
We are. We're everywhere. Yeah, you can take these courses anywhere.
So you can take them in Canada. And do you guys follow the similar legislation?
Yep, absolutely. People that want to learn leasing can learn on our platform.
That's amazing. Perfect. Okay, So hang tight for 2 seconds. I appreciate you being on Devil's Advocate with me. Hopefully some people will reach out and will look into you more. I know I did. I looked into it, so got to do my research.
Yeah, I did a little research on you too. You're doing an impressive job. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So, okay, everybody, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We will catch you next week on the flip side. And as always, don't do anything crazy.